Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching Big Picture, wherein we will talk about continuity of agri reforms, that is, reforms in the agriculture sector. Now, this is not the first time that reforms are being brought in as far as agriculture sector is concerned. In fact, if we look at the history, then starting from former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao's time, agri reforms were launched and they were aimed at removing restrictions on transportation of food grains. These reforms were then further continued by the other governments, such as Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government, wherein these reforms were vigorously implemented, and some more aspects of them are being now brought in by the present government as well. So today we're going to talk about the continuity of agri reforms, how this sector seemingly has seen reforms slowly, but now has the time come to give that one more push as far as the reforms are concerned? And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Dr. Neelam Patel. She is a Senior Advisor, Agriculture with Niti Aayog. We also have with us Mr. K Malhotra, Agriculture Commissioner, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. And we also have with us Mr. K Bhattacharya, Editorial Director of Business Standard. Welcome all of you to Rajya Sabha Television. Let me begin with you, Mr. Bhattacharya. And you must have seen and written about all these reforms, which I was just referring to. If you could, sort of sum it up or put them on a timeline for our viewers' sake as far as agriculture sector is concerned.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dahiya. Before I do that, let me set Indian agriculture in a kind of a policy context so that this debate gains the kind of salience and understanding for our viewers. Now, there are 3 or 4 broad points that I would like to make at the outset. The number one data point that we cannot ignore is that over the years, what we have seen is that while the share of Indian agriculture in the overall size of the economy, in other words, the share of agriculture in overall gross domestic product has been shrinking rapidly. But the dependence of workers, employees, people, families who are dependent on agriculture as an income source have actually remained by and large the same. They continue to be almost 3/4 or almost 66 to 70% of people are still dependent on agriculture and allied activities. But the share in GDP is come down to around 14, 15, 16%. Now, clearly, one sector of the economy which has got a very small share, which is not growing rapidly, whereas its dependence of people depending on the same sector, which is shrinking in its income, creating a lot of inequalities, a lot of problems. So therefore, the need for reforms cannot be overestimated in this sector. That's point number one. Point number two, agriculture has traditionally been a consumer-facing sector in a sense that whenever agricultural prices go up, the policy response is how to address it from the consumer point of view. It is never, rarely been a policy response from the producer point of view. The answer comes because what will the consumer think? If there is onion prices go up, immediately onion is imported maybe. If something happens, immediately make sure that the consumer does not face it. So as a result, the agriculture, the farming community feels in a different kind of a set. Number 3 is that largely all our policies have been framed and created and been by and large continued as a kind of a legacy of an era when agriculture was operating in a scarcity situation. Whereas today we are not in a scarcity situation. So that itself creates new challenges and the need for reforms. Number 4 is that investment that is required in productivity gains and investment that is required in technology enhancements in a sector on which large number of people are still dependent as their main livelihood have not taken place. As a matter of fact, investment as a share in agriculture GDP has actually gone down over the years. So in this context, what we see is that an attempt to make sure that the Indian farmer has greater access to markets, has greater access to better price discovery, has greater access to, warehousing facilities, greater access or greater facility to sell his heat produce to the company that wants to pay him a reasonable price, or go across the border of a state and sell it to whoever he wants to. So from a monopoly situation, it wants to be a perfect kind of a competitive scenario. The problem that I see is happening right now is these are fundamental major changes. Now, clearly, not enough discussion, not enough consultation, probably in communities, in segments of society which matter the most, have not happened, which is why we are seeing this farmer agitation continuing and the government trying its best to resolve that issue. So there is, in my view, the reforms are needed, but as I mentioned, that there are four factors that actually underline the need for reforms. But unfortunately, how the reforms will benefit the farmers and in what way should they be implemented probably requires greater consultation, greater dissemination, and greater awareness. So that is, I would say, at the preliminary stage.
Okay. That's quite an apt context to put the entire issue there in public domain. Let me bring in Dr. Patel here as well. Dr. Patel, as Mr. Bhattacharya was pointing out, your views on the rationale behind the need for further reforms in agriculture sector, given these certain facts which Mr. Bhattacharya underlined, specifically that the previous ones or the policy has always been from the consumer's perspective, or more so loaded in consumers' favor. So that's one aspect to it. And second, the investment has been declining. The growth has also been declining as far as agri sector is concerned.
Dr. Bhattacharya already pointed out some issues of the agriculture pertaining to agriculture. In fact, if we see that we know that agriculture is the prime sector where our more than 50% people are dependent on agriculture in allied sector, directly or indirectly. So any change in the agriculture sector changes the major livelihood of the people of our country. And if you see our initial stages, our concentration was to grow more or to increase the productivity and production level. But now our emphasis is to double the farmer incomes. And our target is by 2022, when we will be celebrating 75 years of our independence. That time our farmers' income should be double. And thinking that not only the enhancement in the productivity, but to the production that we have achieved, our farmers should get benefit out of that. So if you think about the reforms in the agriculture sector, because the dynamic process, and in the dynamism, we have to bring certain changes with time. And if you see the recent that three ordinances that those are there, and in fact these ordinances are enacted so that our farmers should get the benefit out of it. And Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya ji pointed out that most of our reforms are taking care of the consumers. But here we have made attempt to take care of the farmers' problems and their perspectives also. Like see the adoption of Swaminathan Committee's recommendation to increase the MSP by 1.5% times so that we can take care of the production cost. And the second, you are seeing the APMC ordinance. If you see the APMC ordinance, here the farmers are now having the freedom to sell their produce either in the APMC control market or in the open market. The only thing that we have to increase the export of our produce, not only within the state, but out the state also. So therefore, this our APMC ordinance, which we call it this APMC bypass ordinance, by this the farmers are not having the choice. And since the beginning, we are having that if we can provide the free market, then there are chances that the farmer will get the remunerative prices for their produce. So therefore, all these three ordinances are there to support the farmers, not the consumers. We are supporting the consumers also, But here our role is to support farmers. That is more important.
Okay. So these bills, these new bills are basically from the producer's perspective. They're looking at the problems being faced by those involved with the agriculture sector and trying to resolve that, specifically increase their income as well. Let me bring in Mr. K Malhotra here as well. Mr. Malhotra, from your point of view, if you look at the journey of agri reforms or the history of agri reforms, then do you believe that the kind of three ordinances which we are looking at, three bills which we are looking at, they're exactly in the same direction as we've been moving, with a clear, much greater focus on the producers, as Dr. Patel was pointing out?
Yeah. Yes, we need to look from that angle, because there are many points and many changes have happened after attaining the independence. So if you look into 86% of the farmers, they are small and marginal, and the volume of the product whatsoever is coming from the farmer is very small. So there are many instances where distress sale is also happening in some cases. So how we can improve this distress sale kind of thing which happens? You take example of onion, you take example of potato, tomato. There are several other commodities for which there are examples where farmers, they have to go for the distress sale. So this is one point, that how we can ensure the good income to the farmer, good price to the farmer for their efforts whatsoever they have made. Another is, as a whole, if you will see in a larger picture, our production has increased and we have become self-sufficient. So surpluses are also available with us for wheat, for rice, and there are several other commodities also where we have surpluses. And farmers, they sometimes, if we have surplus kind of situation, farmers, they will also not get good price. So there are several examples which have happened in the past. So how we can ensure good price to the farmer? So this has been a worry of the government since long, that how we can ensure the good price to the farmer, how we can enhance the income of the farmer, how we can improve the livelihood and their status, farmers' status, how we can improve them. So these all are the things for which government has its commitment, and we need to now go for fulfilling all those commitments which were made. So now the point has come that transformation is needed now. Transformation in agriculture is needed, and transformation in agriculture will only come if we can assure a good marketing system for the farmer, if we can ensure good price to the farmer, and some kind of good infrastructure is also required to be created in the modern context. And farmers, they need to make aware of the good technology, and lot of good technologies are available, and then they need to get a kind of level playing field so that he gets a good price. So another important point is that how we can empower the farmer. This has been the worry of the government since long. So considering all those points in that context, government enacted these three bills, and all these three bills are very important from that point of view, and these all bills have been applauded also, and these all are the historical decisions which government of India took. And the first bill, which relates to, that's agriculture produce trade and economics ordinance, that's related to this, where the farmer will get a kind of freedom. He can trade anywhere, he can sell anywhere, wheresoever he will get good price, he can sell, even within the state, outside the state, in between the two states, some business will happen. So these all business activities, e-trading, he will get an exposure, and even his cold storage, farm gate, warehouse, processing market, these all will function as a market for him. So these all bills have opened an era for them for these all will be the benefits which will be accrued.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to you on the specifics of the bill, and I'd like to start this round with Mr. Bhattacharya again. Mr. Bhattacharya, as you were also earlier pointing out, that the focus needs to be on improving the state of the farmer as well as the agriculture sector. It's the same thing which Dr. Patel and Mr. Malutra is also pointing to. So if you look at these three bills, how do you think, these three bills will sort of empower the farmer, the individual farmer, and transform the agriculture sector?
Well, I think, in themselves, these bills take care of the problems that the Indian farmers have been facing for many years. So, in essence, in my view, these bills are well-intentioned, well thought through, and these are bills, these are changes, these are legislative changes that should be introduced without any further delay. But as I mentioned in my introductory comments, you have to, and Mr. Malhotra also talked about that. The structure of Indian agriculture is also such that 86% of farmers are actually net buyers of food grain. So they don't actually come to the market. They actually produce for themselves. So if you are talking about a very small segment of Indian farmers who are coming to the market, then you need to have these solutions, these reforms implemented in a manner that the element of choice probably should be given. For example, my sense is that whether you want to amend the APMC Act, whether you want to allow the farmers to go in for contract farming, or whether you want to allow the farmers to go in for interstate sales of their goods and all that is absolutely fine. But along with that, is it possible? Is it possible that the farmers producer the cooperative model can also be explored in a larger way? Because what is happening right now is the number of small farmers need to get together and be regrouped. And my question is that could we replicate the white revolution to the agricultural sector? Can we replicate milk cooperative sector thing to the agricultural sector? My understanding is that these reforms should give rise to greater cooperation and farmer-producer cooperatives or corporation FPOs. There are 7,000 FPOs that we understand have already been launched. But I think if we want to make the success of these three well thought through, well-intentioned bills, we also need supplementary infrastructure change by which the small farmers can group together and can absorb the challenges that often arise when they meet up with the market situation, because market is for them is a new reality. Now, suddenly the farmer who was have been selling his produce to a monopoly kind of a situation of the APMCs, he is now given a choice of selling it to anybody. Now, this requires some sort of handholding, some sort of initiation into the new market reality. And I think a farmer ownership model needs to be looked at by which these farmer-producer cooperatives or corporations and companies can be floated and can take on the advantages as well as face up to the challenges that any such fundamental change in any laws will bring about. Remember 1991 when the industrial laws were changed? The Indian companies will also face the same challenges. So therefore, there were necessary supporting measures that were brought in by which they faced up to those challenges. Similarly, I feel you need a kind of a supplementary support system for the Indian farmers to take full advantage of these important legislative changes in the field of Indian agriculture.
Okay. That brings me to Dr. Patel here again. Dr. Patel, from your point of view, as Mr. Bhattacharya is pointing out, that the FPOs, the Farmer Producer Organization, is one of the very important pillars or one of the very important tools of bringing in those changes or reforms which these laws intend to bring to the agriculture sector and help the farming community as well.
Yes, Dr. Malhotra pointed out that we are having 86% farmers belonging to small and marginal category. To support these 86% of our farmers, we are having the target of formulation of the FPOs of 10,000 by 2023 and 24. Our aim is to bring all these farmers together in a group so that they are can able to access the market And the second thing is that like the success of our white revolution, so here we are providing the support to the farmers so that they can sell their produce from their farm gate. And since for these changes or transformation, we need support in terms of finances, not only the policy. So therefore, just now you have listened that we are having 1 lakh crore infrastructure, agriculture infrastructure fund. And under the Operation Greens, we started from the top, tomato, onion, and potato. Now we have shifted to total. So that these FPOs are getting support from the different government programs and schemes. And last 4 months, you have seen the Kisan Rail. Today, our Honorable Prime Minister, he has started the 100th one. So in 4 months, the produce from the agriculture surplus area has gone to the agriculture deficit area, so that the farmers are getting that support also. This rail is like a moving cold storage. So this we are able to transport the produce from one place to other place, like this Agri Udan. So we are having Agri Udan also to bring the produce from the northeast or from other place to different states. So we are aware that to implement these bills, we need some kind of infrastructure also that we have to create. So these are the efforts that are being made at the field level so that we can address the farmer problems of the small and marginal farmers, and so that they are able to sell their produce in the open market without any problem in the farmer group or cooperatives.
Okay. Let's have concluding comments from Mr. Malhotra as well on the best ways to move forward as far as agri reforms are concerned. Mr. Malhotra?
Yes. As it has been mentioned time and again, some kind of doubts have also been raised. So I would like to speak in context with those doubts that there will be continuity related to MSP. MSP will continue because MSP is a great support, because government has also to procure the food grains for our public distribution system. So that kind of continuity will be there. And the doubt whatsoever is percolating, I think that is required to be wiped out from the minds. Another thing is that we need to now have a kind of exposure of farmers to the new technology, and some kind of level playing field is required to be provided to them. That's why the concept of this contract farming has been brought into, and therefore a new ordinance which relates to farmer empowerment and farmer protection related to this price assurance and farmer service, that has been now brought into. So that will provide a kind of support to the farmer, that he needs to have an exposure to many new things which are happening worldwide, and we need to produce for the world now. So many things, exportable productions are also happening, because now we have surplus, we have enough food which is available with us. Our farmer, he should earn more money. So from that point of view, good agriculture practices are now being promoted, and through this contract farming, the already continuity which is now being maintained for production of high value produce like tomato processable varieties, which Punjab is also doing through contract farming. And then again, some potato chips are also prepared for potato chips making. Special varieties are now being prepared, produced by the farmers through this contract farming system in Punjab, and in Maharashtra. Even farmers, they are producing this onion flakes. So these are some examples which I mean, and there are several spices examples are also available. So farmers, they should get an exposure, and they need to get exposure to new technology, new system. And this new system will provide a good price to the farmer. And this will be a kind of protection, risk protection to the farmer, because he is not getting the good price in the market. So these all are the things which will bring change in the system, and this will transform the agriculture. And these are the steps. The final word I would like to speak, that it's a democratization of the sector, I should say, through these bills.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Malhotra, Mr. Bhattacharya, as well as Dr. Patel, for sharing your views with us and our viewers on this particular issue. So as our panelists pointed out, this is the holistic perspective on continuity of reforms in agriculture sector, and the recent set of reforms, as our experts were pointing out, is all set to transform not only the agriculture sector, but also the rural economy. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.